and welcome to our first ever live foster care Q&A presented by Cornerstones of Care. My name is Justin Horton. I am the Chief Programs and Innovation Officer at Cornerstones of Care, and tonight I will be your host. Wherever you're joining us from, we'd like to thank you for your virtual presence to learn more about our work in foster care and give you an opportunity to ask your questions and learn more about the process of becoming a foster parent. So if you're not familiar with us, Cornerstones of Care is a behavioral and mental health nonprofit dedicated to partnering for safe and healthy communities. We've been around for a little while, about 153 years, and each day our amazing team, you'll meet a couple of those members tonight, they tap into their diverse experiences and their training to help those impacted by trauma. They marry that experience and training with our certified trauma-informed care model that is called Sanctuary in order to provide a variety of quality prevention, treatment, and support services to children and families in Missouri, Kansas, and beyond. And here's a short video to tell you more.
We all walk different paths in life. Now and then, everyone hits a bump in the road, but sometimes a crisis can throw us off course. Poverty, abuse, neglect, addiction, divorce, or lack of health care may seem like individual issues, but trauma never stays in its own lane. Not only does it impact our own physical and mental health, it affects our loved ones and the communities around us. The signs can often be missed or misinterpreted, like children acting out in school or adults missing too many days of work. The trauma-informed team at Cornerstones of Care is trained to recognize those signs, which are actually expressions of untreated trauma, and help everyone in its path heal. They have decades of experience guiding children and families to safety, with personalized attention and programs that help navigate life at home, school, and work. We all walk different paths in life, but we all want the same things: to feel safe, to belong, and to lead healthy, happy lives. Cornerstones of Care provides the tools and support to make that happen. Cornerstones of Care is committed to recognizing, understanding, and responding to the effects of trauma, but they can't do it alone. Join our mission to improve the safety and health of children and families in communities across the region. Work with us, foster with us, or support us at cornerstonesofcare.org.
Welcome back. We'll begin tonight by meeting our three panelists to ask them to share more about their unique roles in foster care. Two of our panelists here are Cornerstones of Care team members who will share their insights into the process of becoming a foster parent. Then the rock star of the show, to my right, your left, a special opportunity to talk with one of our licensed foster parents, Randi Cunningham, who will definitely share more about her journey, her family's journey through fostering. Finally, we'll open up questions to you in the audience and hopefully answer some of your big questions about becoming a foster parent. Some housekeeping and logistics. Let me make sure I get these right in my instructions to you. As a reminder, those of you joining us via Zoom, this is a webinar presentation, so all participants are muted and off camera, so that's okay. If you would like to submit a question, please use the Q&A box on Zoom to submit your questions. If you're joining us via Facebook Live, you can use the chat box to submit your questions. You can't see them, but we have moderators here behind the scenes to look for your questions and send them to me on this beautiful iPad. They'll also be sharing any links to videos or web pages that we mentioned during this live stream. We'll have a few more videos that we'll show you, and we'll send you links to those in the chat. And we'll also send those out. We're recording this in a follow-up email, so you'll get that follow-up. At any point during or after this live stream, feel free to visit cornerstonesofcare.org/foster to fill out an inquiry form or learn more about fostering with us. So, let's meet our passionate and talented panel. Valyn McClellan, tell us what you do at Cornerstones of Care and how long you've been with us.
Hello, I am Valyn McClellan. I am the Senior Director of Family Support Programs and Services at Cornerstones. I have been with the agency about 8 years now and spent about 15 years altogether working with and supporting our foster parents. So, yeah.
So this work is hard, and everybody needs their why as to why they do this work each day. So tell the audience your why and why you choose to come do this work.
My why, it really is a blessing to be a part of a system its entire goal is to safely bring families together and keep families together. So I have been fortunate enough to see that happen many times over the years, and that's my why.
Nicole Newton, tell us what you do at Cornerstones and how long you've been with us.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Nicole Newton. I am the Director of Resource Family Development in Kansas. I have been with Cornerstones for 10 years. I left, I came back because I am passionate about what I do, and I've been back a year.
So to that end, I've known you for a while. You're very talented. You work a lot of different places. What is it about Cornerstones that keeps you coming back? Why do you choose Cornerstones as your employer?
I choose Cornerstones due to the support that they give families and the youth that we work with. I think that we use our community resources in making sure that our families who are in crises or have a crisis at that time have a little village. So we work with our families and with our youth and with our community. So I just think that we embody that really well. And just with the diverse backgrounds that we work with and the people that we work with, that we try to just connect everybody up so they can feel supported and at home.
Randi, how long have you been fostering?
My husband, my Sean, we've been foster parents for 6 years.
So to whatever level of detail you're comfortable with, tell us about the makeup of your home currently.
Yeah, we have 5 children. 3 are biological, and we have one we have guardianship over, and then we have a baby who's 11 months old, and we're fostering her.
Awesome. So thank you to the 3 of you for being here tonight. It's our first ever attempt at this, and glad to have you with us. Before we dive a bit deeper with our panelists, we're going to show a short video clip from one of our brand new videos. We have a series of videos, a 4-part series called Become a Foster Parent 101, so that you can watch at your leisure. This clip that's upcoming is a snippet from one of those videos from one of our team members. Her name is Sheila Rankator. She's our Executive Director of Missouri Programs and Services at Cornerstones of Care, and she is going to talk about dispelling some of the myths about who can and cannot be foster parents.
You know, when I think about some of the myths that I've heard over the years are about the types of families license. You do not need to be a 2-parent household. We do license LGBTQ families. You do not necessarily have to be high income. We need foster parents of all ages, of all races. We need rural, we need urban. I would encourage anyone who has an interest in foster care to reach out just to learn more.
If you're not familiar, Cornerstones of Care provides foster care in Kansas and Missouri, and I have to give kudos to both of those states. I've been doing this work for 20 years, and it has certainly evolved. Both states have made phenomenal progress in placing kids with people that they know, and that could be a relative, could be a family friend. At Cornerstones of Care, our placement of foster kids on the Kansas side is about 50% with someone that they know. On the Missouri side, it's a little more than 60%. But what that means is there's still 40 or 50% of kids who need a family-like setting because they don't have a relative or a family friend that's been identified. So, if you're in the audience and you're wondering, do we need you? The answer is yes. So, Valyn, Nicole, let's dive right in. Nicole, we heard Sheila's comments in the last video, and I myself have heard people sort of talk themselves out of fostering before they even start because they don't think that they're a perfect fit. But in reality, fostering with Cornerstones of Care is an inclusive process. Perfection is not expected. So what is it that we are looking for in a person who fosters?
Like you said, Justin, we're not looking for anybody who is perfect. We're just looking for a person or a family that's very compassionate, has a lot of empathy, will be informed and understand that the youth who are coming in are going through some trauma, because really and truly to come into the system, there has to be some type of crises or trauma. So we need someone who can have that understanding and that compassion and able to work through it with the children and the families. We're not gonna, it could be grandparents, the mother, the father, other children, just working through that, being a support team and being there to be that support for the family. So you don't have to be perfect. You can be whatever walk of life, whatever your lifestyle is. We're looking for anyone that the child can identify with. We want real families with real love and real support.
So it helps to like kids.
Yes,
right?
Yes, you have to like kids.
Resilient, compassionate, empathetic, flexible, organized, but you don't have to be married.
No.
You don't have to be a certain gender identity.
No.
You don't have to be a certain sexual orientation.
No, not at all.
So it's a truly inclusive process, and
Yeah.
if you have thoughts around your own family dynamics, that's when you call and you talk to us and we fill you in a little bit more. So, Valyn, whether it's an individual or a couple or a family and they're ready to have a conversation about fostering, they can reach us by phone. Shout out to Marianne, who answers our phone when anybody calls in. Email or a website inquiry. And reminder, I didn't say ready to start fostering. I said ready to have a conversation, because sometimes it takes a lot of conversations before you're ready to jump in. So what happens when they reach out?
So by reaching out, email, website, or calling, you will get to Marianne, our intake coordinator. I do like to share her name, so just to make it a little bit more comfortable, it's not a call center. It is one person we work with who has been with Cornerstones for a good amount of time now. I would say probably as long as I have been. So she knows the ins and outs. She can answer any questions that you have that are just pressing, and if for some reason she doesn't know the answer, she reaches out to another team member and will find it for you. Truly, Marianne just walks you through step by step of the process, and if you're ready to get started, she'll get started. If you're not, that's okay, and you can call her back at any point in time and say, hey, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and if wherever you're joining us from, if you don't know if we're the foster care provider in your area, call and we'll let you know. And if we're not, we'll do the research to tell you who to reach out to if you want to foster and we don't happen to be in your area. So, all right, Nicole, one more for you. Okay. It's probably an understatement to say the foster care system can be complex. And I have to remind myself that there's a lot of citizens in our communities that we serve who haven't been exposed to foster care. But I think it's important for people who are watching and everyone to know that you're not alone and you're not left to figure out the system, that you have assigned supports. So what do those supports look like for folks?
Well, what that support looks like is that when you do sign up to become a foster parent, you will be given a licensing worker, a resource family advocate. So that person will be with you every step of the way. They're going to be that support for you as a family getting started and then well into you becoming a foster parent. So you have the case team that's going to be there for the child, but you have someone there for you as a foster family as well. If there is any supports for the youth, as far as needing like educational supports, financial assistance, they're going to be there to make sure that you are comfortable and that everything that you need to be able to sustain stability for that child until that child is reintegrated, or even if it goes to permanency of adoption, that they're there with you every step of the way to make sure that it's an easy transition and that you're supported in every aspect that you might need.
Yeah, the system is complex and there's lots of policies and procedures, but don't let that scare you, because that's their sole job duty. They only work with licensed families and they are there to be reached by email, be reached by phone. They're going to come to your home and meet with you and talk to you, and that's their sole duty. Awesome. All right, Val, last question. So a family's ready to start the licensing process. What does that look like leading up to their first placement?
So as I said before, it really starts with Marianne answering those questions. If you are ready to go, she will walk through some preliminary background screenings with you. And sorry, there is some paperwork associated with that. Once you get through that preliminary background screening, then you will be assigned what we call a family development specialist. This is your person through that process. They will walk you through getting you enrolled in training, and then also work with you through what we call your home study. So that is home visits, just doing walkthroughs of your home and making sure everything is safe. So you are working on the home study and the training at the same time. And your family development specialist is with you every step of the way. If at any point in time you get in training and life happens sometimes, you don't feel like this is a good fit, you are welcome to select yourself out at any point in time. We don't see that very often, thankfully, but that is always an option. So, and once you get through training and you get your home study all written up, then you are good to go.
Okay. Thank you to the two of you for being here and illuminating us. So we're going to watch another video here. It is, again, from our Become a Foster Parent 101 series. This time you're going to hear from the Rattler family. They are foster parents with Cornerstones of Care, and they are going to share their experience as kinship foster parents for Philip Rattler's cousin, Gabe.
So fostering gives a child a home where they can see a mom, a dad, what a sister and a brother, what a family atmosphere looks like, and will hopefully give them that hope that that's something that they can have in the near future. So it just warms my heart just to know that we're giving someone something that they are in lack of, that we have extra of, which is love and a place where they can lay their heads down and feel comfortable.
All right, now we have the opportunity to hear live from one of our foster parents, Randi Cunningham. Randi, thank you for being here. So think back to when you were pondering whether to foster or not, which is where a lot of people watching us might be. And what was that thought process like for you and your family?
So when my husband and I just got married and we were on our honeymoon, going on the way to our honeymoon, my husband said, you know, I just listened to this podcast about foster parenting, and I think I really want to do that. And I thought, oh my gosh, that sounds so great. We should do that. Like when we raise our children and we get older and retired and we own our own home, and that just sounded like the best time to do that. And then fast forward a few years, we have 2 young children, and I hear somebody speak about foster care. And my heart just leaped. Like I just knew that this was something that we need to do, and now. And we didn't own a home. Like I said, we had 2 small children, and so there was a lot of things that I felt like told me it wasn't the right time, but I knew it was. And so, yeah, that's what it was like for me. I just knew this is a lot, but I just need to take the next step. And what would that look like? Just one step instead of the big things. And they all worked out. Was just the next step of talking to my husband and calling Cornerstones. So.
Awesome, thank you.
And what advice do you have for anyone out there now thinking about fostering?
Yeah, I would say, just like I said, take the next step and what that might look like for you. Being here is a really great step. Reaching out to Cornerstones, maybe having some conversations with other people that may have fostered, or learn about trauma in children, and I think those are really great things to do. Yeah. So.
We've talked a lot about sort of starting the conversation with folks, but tell us what you remember from the process in accepting your first placement.
Okay. I was so excited to get our first placement, and this we got a call about a little girl that was moving from another foster house, and she had had 2 recent foster placements, and they had both interrupted placement. They said that she was screaming, she's just so little, and she wouldn't sleep at night. And my husband and I was like, let's do it. And this little girl just, it's not always like this, but I saw the caseworker come, and she jumped out of the car and just ran to my house. And she had the biggest smile and these little braids in her hair bouncing as she ran, and gave me the biggest hug. And then she went off and just played with my children, my small children that I was nervous about. They made the difference in her life. There was no screaming, there was nothing. They were the comfort, and they were exactly who she needed. So.
So this is not the first time I've met you. I've had the pleasure of hearing you speak before, and you're here because you're a model foster parent, and you talk about something that's very near and dear to me tell the listeners about your approach to working with biological parents, guardians of the children that you're fostering.
Yes. So I feel like my approach has changed throughout the years. I have always looked for ways to honor the families and to speak to them and about them with honor and love, and learning how to come alongside them. I would I have a lot of littles that come through our home, and so I see a lot of first moments that happen with their children. And so if there are times that I can create first moments with those families, like first foods, I would put them aside and send them on a visit so that they can have that experience with their kid. Or if they met a new development, I would wait for mom or dad to notice that on a visit and save that for them, because they don't get to see those special moments, and so I want them to be a part of it. But I feel like everything changed with our 4th placement in a deeper way. I got a call to come get a baby from the hospital, and I grabbed a car seat, and I was really excited and nervous. And when I got to the hospital, I was taken up to the room with a security guard was with me, and the caseworker. And once I got into the room, I saw this sweet little preemie baby, and her mom was cradling her. And I could see mom look up really quickly and then down. She knew what we were doing. And it was in that moment that I thought, nope, I don't want to be here. Like, somebody else come take this baby. I want to be here with mom. I want to sit with her. I want to comfort her. I want to be there with her. And that's when I realized, like, I can do both. And I want to do both. And I'm here to see, and I want deeply to see this baby go back with mom. And this baby was a premature baby, and she was there at the hospital for a few weeks, and mom had never left her. She was there, and she cared for her, and she loved her baby, and dad was there too. And so with that case, we got to really, my husband and I got to come alongside that family and mentor them and love them and just involve them with everything. And that was really special, and they were reunified. The sibling came a few months later, and they were reunified when the baby was 11 months old, and we still have contact. And they've been to our home, we've been to there, we've been to the zoo, like, we've done things, and we still have contact. And so this is what we want to do. We want to see families back together, and so.
It's, everybody's experience is different. So Randi sets a high bar for a foster parent, but the common thread at Cornerstones of Care for the people that we work with is that they've been impacted by trauma. And our trauma approach to that is not to look down at them for that. It's to say what happened to you or what didn't happen to you. It's not what's wrong with you. Sometimes our families just need help, and they just maybe need taught some skills that they weren't ever taught. So even if you're not in Randi's spot and you don't think that you can do that, that's okay. It's not a requirement to foster to impact those families, but that's what makes it so impactful is when you're not just helping raise the kids, but you're teaching the parents perhaps some new skills and to help keep their children safe and healthy, because that's all that we care about, is that they're safe and healthy. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Randi. That was powerful. So let's fast forward to today.
Yeah.
How many children have you fostered? How has your family changed? And what really keeps you going?
So today, we have fostered 6 different children. So that looks like today we have guardianship of one of the children we fostered for 4 years. And then we have a baby that we're fostering that's 11 months old. Okay. So she turns 1 next week. And what keeps me going, I think my faith is what steadies me and keeps me grounded. And yeah.
Thank you.
All right, we're doing great on time. We're entering our final segment, so we're going to have plenty of time for Q&A. So again, to reiterate, if you haven't already, feel free to put some questions in the chat. We've had some submitted when people registered, so we've got a list, but feel free to add to it. So reminder, if you'd like to submit a question to be answered by our panelists, these fine folks, please use the Q&A box on Zoom to type and submit your questions. If you're joining us via Facebook Live, you can use the chat box to submit your questions. So we may not get to all of them, but we'll try to answer as many as we can. So got some that were submitted earlier. Valyn, I'm going to start with you. Sure. The question was, I'm interested in fostering children who will need daycare. Is daycare covered by the state?
So yes, so long as it is a state licensed facility, that child care will be provided.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Nicole, sort of a similar question, but a little different. Can I receive state assistance?
Yes, actually you can. You would just need to make sure that you have all the information needed for the children that are in your home.
Okay. Randi, question submitted was, do licensed foster parents have a choice about the children they take in, or are they required to take those that they are assigned?
No, you'll get a phone call or an email, or someone will contact you and ask you if you can take a child, and they'll tell you everything that they know about the child, and you can say yes or no. Usually you have a little bit of time that if you need to call somebody, you can do that as well. So you have the right to say no.
Okay. Valyn, simple question. So they're already fostering. What if they need a break?
So great question. The primary thing here is communication with your family development specialist, your licensing worker. So absolutely you can have a break. We actually encourage our foster parents to take a break and utilize what we call respite, which is 1 to 2 days every now and then. If you need a week, we really just want to provide that support and really understand that foster parents do need breaks every now and then. So.
Okay, Nicole. They didn't know you'd be answering this, so don't take it personally, but why do you ask so many personal questions about a smoke detector and a fire extinguisher and firearms in the home, etc.?
Well, we want to make sure that the home is safe. We want to make sure that the children are safe. And the family itself. I mean, with the fire extinguishers, the smoke detectors, firearms, anything can happen, and we just want to keep everyone safe in the home. Other questions that we have may be for background licensing purposes that doesn't get to anyone else. And then with those personal questions, we kind of tailor what child you're looking for, what you're interested in, so then we can kind of help out and facilitate, because we have older kids who are in the foster care system as well, so we can facilitate who's coming in and out of your home.
Okay. Randi, the question is, have you had any placements that didn't work out, or children that went home, and what was that like?
Yeah. The story that I just shared about the baby and her brother going home and what that was, reunification. A lot of people, when I talk to them about foster care, this is a common statement, like, I can't do it, I'll get too attached. And yeah, me too, I can't. It's hard. But it's exactly what our children, these children need. Even down to their brain development, they need to know how to attach to safe people. And so if you're worried you're gonna get too attached, then we need you for these kids, because they need attachment and they need somebody to love and encourage them. So when they went home for reunification, what that was like was a lot of joy to see a family come back together, but it was also a lot of grief. I was devastated. I loved these children with, they had all access to my heart. Nothing was protected. And so when they left, I was heartbroken, and my children were heartbroken, and my husband was sad. We grieved deeply, but it all mattered. It had purpose, because instead of wondering, are these babies looking for me? I know that my love that I poured into them, they now expect and trust people that they'll meet their needs and love them, and they're safe. So when they went home, they can attached to their family. So.
Okay, a few more questions, and I think we're going to watch one more video, and then we'll come back to some questions if there's time. So, Valyn, two-part. I'll ask it in two parts. So,
Okay.
can I determine what age range I want to foster?
Yes.
And so, if you're hearing that, if you newborns, teenagers, adolescents, young adults, is there a need for certain ages more than others?
There is. We do have, our highest need is really for older youth and sibling groups. I would say youth ages 12 and above. So it is much more likely that age range is waiting for a family foster home. So we do encourage people to really think outside of the box in terms of age ranges that they would consider.
Yeah. Okay, so Nicole, this one's for you. It's about training that someone had sent in, and I see a live question that's very similar. So we're going to take a little training visit here. So the question is, once I'm licensed, are there ongoing training opportunities?
Yes, it is. Actually, when you are licensed, you do your license annually each year. So there are continuing education classes. There's classes that you can take that will help you be able to deal with a little bit more. If you have a child that has certain behaviors, you can actually get into training for that. So then that you are giving them the best care and that you are well equipped to deal with anything that comes your way. So that's one of the things with support as well.
So not only is there an opportunity for ongoing trainings, it's
Yes.
required
Yeah.
that
And we provide it.
ongoing
And we
training.
provide it.
So
We provide it.
that's the question, Valyn. So
Yeah.
it says,
Yeah.
tell us more about training. So there's multiple parts here. I'm going to ask them. So first, how long is it up front?
Up front is 27 hours.
Okay. Is it virtual or in person?
Virtual.
Okay. And do both parents need to participate in every training session?
Yes.
Okay. What, I know there's some nuances depending on where you're at, but a license is for 2 years.
Correct.
How many training hours do they have to get in that 2-year time period?
30 hours every 2 years. We like to get you at 15 every year to meet that 30 hours. Yeah.
Randy told me your license is coming up in November. Is that what you
Yes.
said? So you're in the
Get
throes
that
of
training.
Yes.
making sure you got your training, right?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to go to one more video break, play one more teaser. This is from the Brinkmeyer foster family.
My wife and I, Denise, we're foster parents. We've been doing this now for a year and a half, I think, is when we officially got licensed.
And we started out just doing respite care because we weren't sure if we were ready to jump in with both feet. So we started with respite care, did that for a year and a half, then started taking classes. I think that it was knowing that there is a need and just wanting to make sure that the kiddos were feeling loved and taken care of, and just that they had a safe place to go.
We both had relatively stable upbringings. You know, I woke up every day and I knew there was someone there that loved me. I woke up and I had all my basic needs met, and I didn't question, does somebody else care about me?
Welcome back. We've got some more questions that have been submitted, so we're going to keep rolling. That's all right with you all? Okay. Valyn,
Yes.
are we able to travel with foster children?
Absolutely.
Say more about maybe some processes that have to be...
So we do, the child's case manager needs to know, and you just want to make sure that you have the proper permissions. But let's say you're going on vacation, you know, we would actually encourage you to include the foster youth on that vacation. We want to normalize the experience that they have while they are in your home as much as possible.
Okay. Nicole, how can I afford to foster as a single adult with limited income?
Well, with every child that comes to your home, there is a maintenance payment for that particular child. And if you are single, doesn't matter. If you're married, doesn't matter. Every child has a maintenance payment. And if you have limited income, we actually help out with trying to find other assistance that can help you out with that as well.
Mm-hmm. So we're not here to say that it's going to cover every part of your cost.
Exactly.
Sorry, Randy, it helps defer or minimize the cost a little bit, but there is a monthly payment, there is daycare assistance, there can be state assistance, there's clothing assistance to try and help. Okay. Actually going to pivot to you, Randy, on this question generically. I think I know you've only fostered with Cornerstones of Care, but In some jurisdictions, there's multiple options for folks to choose on who they want to be their licensing agency or who they want to foster with. So what advice would you give people if they have multiple agencies to choose from and who they should choose to foster with? What should they look for?
Honestly, I picked Cornerstones because I just did a Google search and I called them and they were kind and they answered all of my questions. So I would probably contact the different agencies and talk to them and see how you're treated and what their policies are and
We can get
how
you
they
trained.
speak about the youth.
We can work through what kind of yard you
Yeah,
have, what kind of fence
websites
you
are good.
have.
Yeah.
Those are
Websites
minor.
are good. I know we're
We
updating
can fix
ours, but
those, but if you
it's a
come
good
in
place
with
to
that
find
kind of heart,
information. The
that you'll
maintenance
take a
rates are
child
the
where they're at,
same.
and
No
you'll
matter who
love
you're
them
fostering with, you get paid
unconditionally.
the same thing.
And
But
you'll provide them a home.
organizations are
that's what
different.
makes a good foster
They're all
parent.
good. Anybody who's doing this work is a good organization. Anybody who's helping with kids and families, we appreciate and we love to partner with. Something that we do bring that others don't is we are certified in our trauma-informed approach. We don't just say that we're trauma-informed. We go through a recertification process by folks at Sanctuary every 3 years. They come on site, they look at our policies, procedures, they talk with staff, they talk with clients to make sure that our policies, procedures, practices are in line with being trauma-informed and trauma-responsive. And that's not something that you can just pretend to do. It's something that is woven in the fabric of our culture, and it influences everything that we do. It's how we treat each other as staff, it's how we treat our partners who provide our services, and it's the approach that we have with our communities, and not everybody can say that. So, Valyn and Nicole, anything to add to that as far as choosing an agency to foster with?
Well, I know that you would look for an agency. I know that if it's an agency in your area, because certain agencies service certain areas as well. So keep that in mind as well. And like Randi said, talk with the other agencies and see what you're comfortable with. You can ask as far as like how many times will I get a placement, how does placement look, and then asking the questions. That's one thing as a former foster parent and an adoptive parent as well. That's one of the things that I did was ask questions. So then you're more informed in how you're going to be able to support the youth and the families that you're working with.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing your lived experience that I certainly don't have, and very impactful. Okay, some more questions. Valyn, can children share a room?
They can. There are some rules around it that might actually vary from state, but children can share a room. They do have to have their own bed, their own closet space, space to keep their belongings, but simple answer is yes.
Nicole, if I have animals, can I still get licensed?
Yes, you can. The animals need to be vaccinated. Make sure that all shots and everything is up to date. Also, if it's an animal that has to be caged, that you just be safe and make sure that the animal is properly taken care of and caged, if that's what is to happen.
Randi, you touched on this a little bit earlier in your comments, but I live in an apartment. Let's say I live in an apartment or I live in a townhome, etc. Do I have to own a home to be a foster parent?
You do not need to own a home.
Okay. Valyn, do I add the foster children who are in my home to my own health insurance?
No. They
Why
come
not?
with, they come
Yeah.
with it.
Yes, foster kids automatically qualify for health insurance,
Yeah,
right?
good to go there.
Okay. Valyn, one more. I have a finished basement. Can foster children sleep down there?
Finished, yes. The caveat there is there needs to be 2 ways of egress from the room in which the foster child is sleeping. So we do look pretty closely at that, and that is just a fire hazard thing. We need to make sure that everybody has a way to get out based upon where that fire would be, and that's the policy there. So.
Okay. There were some questions that came in that I think we've talked about, but just to cover those, yes, you can foster newborns. It's okay to be single. It's okay to be a man or a woman or fluid gender identity. You do not have to be of a certain sexual orientation. You do have to be of a certain age.
No,
right?
You do, 21.
You have to be 21. There's some background checks that we do. There's probably some crimes that you could not have committed to be licensed.
That's accurate.
Okay. Randi, how often are children, well, let me say this. Do foster parents have first choice about whether they can adopt? Is that something you think you have perspective on?
Depends on how long the child is with you and if there's relatives that are asking. It's a complicated thing.
Yeah.
So, no, you don't always get first choice.
Because you're part of a team,
Yes.
right? You have
Yeah.
your licensing worker, you have you, an equal part of the team, I should say. You have the foster care case manager. The child has a legal representative, and then there's a whole court system that is involved and has court orders and things that we have to abide by. So each case is unique, but the first part of that question is how often are children in the foster care system adopted? And that can vary. More kids come into care due to neglect than abuse, which a lot of people don't know, and actually more kids reunify back home than get adopted. So I think sometimes it's a misnomer that adoption gets so much attention. But our first goal by law and by court edict is to return those children to their home. So if adoption is your sole purpose and goal, that's something we definitely want to talk with you about. You can foster and eventually adopt, but and we do have adopt-only licenses, but the goal really is to work towards getting those children back home. Would you agree? Okay. All right, let's see. Valyn, can I use a non-conforming bedroom for a foster child?
I need a little bit more context with that.
Well, it probably has to legally count as a bedroom. There has to
It
be.
does have to legally count as
Yeah.
a bedroom. There has to be space, privacy, space to change. Yeah, that one I just feel like
Yeah.
I need a little bit more information
Yeah.
on. And
Well,
that would be a good example of something that we would need to
Yep.
look at
Yep.
before we made that determination.
The Q&A is good because there can be minute examples for your personal family where we don't expect to cover every situation that you might be facing out there listening to us, but that's why you call and ask.
That's
and
why you
we
call
can help
Mary
you
Ann.
through it. That's why we come and look. And so don't let that be a deterrent to you. If you don't know, call and ask. Back to my earlier comment, we would love for you to foster with us, but what is most important to us is that you foster, period.
Yes.
Because every state in this country needs more foster parents. And so whoever you foster with, if we're adding you to the foster care family, that's what's most important. So final question, unless my moderators tell me different. Randi, we're going to close with you, and feel free to expand as much as you want to on this, but what is speaking for yourself, what's the best part of fostering?
Just the kids, meeting them and getting to love them, and just welcoming a child in your home is so special. And seeing, like, my family, when my husband and I got licensed, we thought this was going to be a me and him thing. Like, this is our calling. This is what we should do. And we quickly found out with that first placement, that little girl, and how she felt comfortable with my children, that it's a us. It's a family calling, all of us together. And that has been really beautiful to see my children grow in compassion and empathy and understanding about it and about children and families. I remember at Christmas, a little girl a baby that we were fostering, she started her overnight visits, and so she was away for Christmas. She was with her biological family, and my daughter was like, "Oh, I'm so sad that she's not here, but I'm so happy for her mom." And she just got it. They get it, and it's so special that we can feel these things together. And then also, like, I did think, with us starting with fostering, that it was about welcoming a child into our home. But I really think it's about welcoming a family into your family. And loving the whole family. We have bonus grandmas. All of my children call grandma, that are, the foster kiddos' grandmas, and we have bonus aunts, and just like a whole extended family through this. And so so I think that's the best part, is just all the love and growing as an individual and how I can love deeper. And yeah, and I'm okay. The kids, my heart is recovered. Like, I'm okay. Like, I can lay myself down, and my family can lay our lives down for others, and we are okay.
It's a big deal. It changes your life,
Yeah.
but in many positive ways, and you become part of an exclusive club that not everyone can say that. I'm lucky to have two here next to me that have been foster parents, and can't thank you enough. So don't leave us just yet. We have one more video that we're going to show you. So first, a thank you to you out there, wherever you're watching from, for tuning in to our Q&A. Thank you to our panelists, Valyn, Nicole, Randi, for sharing your expertise and personal experiences with us. If you are ready to talk and take the first step towards becoming a foster parent, again, reminder, just go to Cornerstones of Care. You'll find where you need to go, but cornerstonesofcare.org/foster. I think it's displaying for you, and you'll fill out an inquiry form. You'll find a phone number on there. They'll see an email address, so just however you want to do that. On that webpage, you'll also find information about foster care, a lot of information, as well as links to the videos. We've been showing you snippets of videos tonight. You'll see the entire series of Become a Foster Parent 101 on that website. So, reminder, we'll be sharing links that were mentioned during this live stream in the chat, and include those links and recording in the live Q&A follow-up. So with that, I think it is thank you and good night, but don't leave us. We're going to show you episode 4, which is entitled perfectly How to Get Started in our video series. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
We can get you trained. We can work through what kind of yard you have, what kind of fence you have. Those are minor. We can fix those. But if you come in with that kind of heart, that you'll take a child where they're at and you'll love them unconditionally, and you'll provide them a home, then that's what makes a good foster parent.
A lot of people, when they're first calling in, they don't know much about foster care yet. So I'm there to educate them, to kind of talk to them just about what foster care is overall. Really educating them. I know when I first talk to families, sometimes people are just calling to get more information. Other times people are ready to dive in and take the next step. The very first step in the process is the intake, and that's conducted over the phone. And that's really just when I ask people some general questions to get to know them better. And then after that, I send the application, and in the application, there is a home checklist. So it's a helpful list of the things that they'll need in their home before they're licensed. And there's also some information about background checks. The licensing process usually takes about 4 to 6 months to complete from the time that you start the training, but there's really just 3 steps: the intake, the application, and then you'll be assigned a licensing worker. So the intake is really just done over the phone, and I tell people allow about an hour.
You've taken the first step. You reached out and called us instead of us calling you. I can go over a short questionnaire to find out your background. We like to find out what type of home they have, how many youth are living in the home already, do they have children of their own, are they married or single or living with somebody.
Cornerstones was awesome, and we were lucky to have a very good, our caseworker was wonderful. She gave us a lot of information right off the bat, and the beginning parts is just check marking things off of a list. You know, your fingerprints, your background checks, it's just the paperwork part of things, and then once that paperwork part is done, it's the classes after that.
Classes and home visits.
Oh, well, the first step was filling out it looked like an encyclopedia stack of papers.
The big book.
Yeah, that just kind of went over telling about ourselves, our finances, our childhood, how we were raised, our children now, how we raised them. Merle, who was one of the people that we came in contact with Cornerstones of Care, which really became our case manager along with a lady named Michaela. I mean, he was just awesome. He called and was like, hey, he introduced himself, offered his services, came over to the house and kind of was like, if you have any questions, just let me know. And he went through literally every single last step with us.
So whenever the first initial visit occurs, your licensing worker will bring out additional paperwork. So they'll just sit down with you and go over that during that visit. That's also when they'll enroll you in the training that's required. And then before they leave your home, that's when they'll take a tour of your home. So you can just show them around. If you have any questions about the home checklist or any questions about a bedroom you want to use for a child, feel free to ask at that visit.
Opening your home up for somebody to come in, it's not as bad as it may sound. The DCF workers, they're not there to judge your housekeeping. They're there to judge, do you have the items and the space needed to foster a child?
The process usually takes about 4 to 6 months from the time that a family starts the training.
Then there's some training you have to take. The biggest is an 8 to 10 week course where you have to commit 3 hours a week. And there's a little bit of paperwork with that.
My advice would be to take advantage of trainings and classes, specifically just for children with trauma. I think that it re-energizes you when you take a class and learn new tools on how to deal with whatever issue you might be going through. And you also are in a room with other people that are going through similar things.
Probably the biggest question I get is, do we have to take every youth that you send us? And I always clarify that their advocate is their gatekeeper. They will talk with their advocate on what kind of youth they want to have. They get licensed for a specific age group, and then their advocate is the one asked. And they go to the family and ask if they would like to have this particular child. At first, we kind of dip your toe in the water and get used to it, but then after that, we want you to try to step out of your comfort zone. If you don't think you want older kids, we try to encourage, you try the older ones. They don't have to have their diapers changed like the babies do, but we do have a strong need for teenagers. We get the child placed, we check in, we let them know the first few days, call me if you need anything. Call me or call the caseworker. The understanding is the advocates are the ones that are supporting the foster families. The caseworkers are really on the side of the child. Sure. And so they have to understand the person that's going to go to bat for them is that advocate.
So here at Cornerstones of Care, we're here to support you. Your licensing worker will be your advocate as you go through the process, and also after you have your first placement in your home, so you're not in this alone. Yeah, the advice I would give is really just to go into this open-minded. Whenever you receive those phone calls, really just listen about the kids and have an open heart when you receive those phone calls. Also, to have support. That's the biggest one, to have support, whether that is another foster family, going to support groups, your neighbor, a friend, leaning on those people. You're not in this alone.
Thank you for watching this episode. If you're ready to get started on your journey to become a foster care parent, you can complete an interest form on our website. Thank you.